Okay. I hope you're doing well tonight. It's 1:35 where I'm at, Eastern time. And tonight I want to discuss the fact or that no matter as long as you are in a I guess you could say first world country, no one is here to save you. Which is a very it sometimes can be a damaging thought that despite your upbringing, how coddled you might have been, no one is going to save you. You need to be the one to save yourself. But how could you if you've been sheltered most of your life or not guided properly? Now, the main thing that I've felt that I could be of service to you is by going through what I've gone through, sharing it with you, but packaging it in a way that you could actually implement it. Now, I don't want this to be some typical mental masturbation video where I coax you up into saying that you need to just get off your high horse, you need to get the fuck up and do what you need to do. Everyone knows you need to do that. That's neither here nor there of an advice that can be helpful or that you can implement. And in my life, I've done a very, very good job at masking the troubles, the hardship that I've gone through. And in some cases, people would probably scoff at the fact that I would use this. But this isn't about me anymore, at least. This is about you and what I can give to you. So, like I've said before, you can implement to your own life. Now, any man, most men don't have a motivational problem. They have all the reasons why to do it, why they need to do it. But the problem comes down to why you are not able to do it. What's holding you back? What is keeping you stuck in a routine, in a cycle, in a loop, in a matrix? What is actually holding you back from exiting the typical story that you relive every single day? And it comes down to 5 different loops that I've noticed I gotten myself involved with, or I kept playing myself. And this was about, every part of these loops, every one of these loops played a different role in my life at different stages, at different ages. But in the past, honestly, 365 days, I've been able to reflect on the different patterns that I've noticed myself in being involved with, or patterns that I've been involved with before that allowed me to exit. Because the first thing that you need to do is name the pattern or identify what it is that you keep doing, what that loop is, what that habit is. That's when you need to really take a step back, analyze what the hell you're doing, what its effect on other people. And usually, if you are a traditional guy, if you are someone who fancies himself as a provider, the most motivating, or rather the reason why you do something, is because of your impact on other people. And that's how I made my shift, because I noticed I was impacting my significant other. I've been impacting my parents. And when they told me, each of them told me that this is the last time or else. And not even the or else, like, I was borrowing a lot of money from my parents and as well as my partner, my fiance. And the last time that they both gave me money, they said that this is the last time. And in fact, it actually was the last time. They were more than happy to separate themselves from me. And I had to take a look at myself and understand I can't keep doing this, because the person I want to live with the rest of my life with is ready to walk out on me. And the person that I would lived my first half of my life was walking out on me. But I digress. I want to discuss with you the 5 loops that impacted me, so that you don't need to make the same mistakes that I made. And I get it. The idea is that, hardship in your life allows you to build character, allows you to, you know, um, shine through and become the person you are. But that isn't how society plays it out, because that's wasted time. And the people that you want to impact, or your future offsprings, the people that you want to impact down the road, they are all counting on you to not fuck up. I don't know there's a gentleman, I can't think of his name at the moment, but what he said really stuck out to me. And I don't find it to be a cliche or anything of that nature. But he said, never underestimate the amount of suffering that as a result of you not getting your shit together. That's not what he said verbatim, but that was the idea. The intention, or the premise behind it, is that the fact that you are not where you need to be is more impacts the people around you more than you know it. Because if you had the money, you'd be able to help X, Y, and Z. If you had the discipline, you'd be able to impact or be a role model for X, Y, and Z. If you had a relationship that was strong with X and Y, Z, A, B, and C would see that and understand what a true relationship should be between a man and a woman. So when he said that, that really, that changed, that it started to change the way that I was viewing my relationships with everyone else, and how well I was providing for them, because I wasn't providing for them at all. There was no way that they could see me and respect me for who I was at the time. And like I said, it all goes back down to you being able to master the exit of those loops. So the first loop, while we're discussing about this, is the pain loop. All right. So the pain loop, and I got my little notes here on what I'm going to be doing or discussing about everything. The pain loop is a bit more physical. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to deal with other people initially, but you do not want to get to a point where, because of your inability to move, it's hindering your relationship with your significant other or your potential kids. All right. So the typical loop there, and I'm not going to go into details with everything. That'll be left for another video. But I want to just introduce the ideas of what these loops are, so that you can start thinking about them in your day-to-day life. So the first loop is the pain loop. Now that is the typical you feeling better after injuring yourself. Okay, so let's say you've injured your knee and you let it rest for a couple days. It's fine, but this is that nagging pain, and you go through this loop where it feels better one day. So then the next day you go too hard on an exercise, or whatever you enjoy doing. You decide to show off a little bit at the beach, or you're at the gym and you decided to up the weight a little bit, or do a little bit more range of motion in an exercise, and then you flare up. That pain that was caused initially starts to flare up. So what do you do again? You rest, you regress, maybe you take some Advil, and we'll go into these types again. We'll break down the loops specifically later on, each of them, but that's the loop that plays out with the pain. You feel good one day by chance and random. You decide to go hard in the paint. You feel the pain, it flares up. You rest, you recover, and you feel good again. And you keep going through this cycle of pain and recovered and go again. Pain, recovered, and go again. That's loop number 1. Now, loop number 2. This one is this hits a bit more home for me. It's called the data deletion loop. Now, it's still part of the pain sequence, or rather how your body interprets stress, pain, suffering, what have you. But it's the data deletion loop. Now, what that means is that when you are taking in some type of suffering, some pain, some stress, what do you typically do? I'll tell you what I did. I didn't give you much time to think, but I'll tell you what I did. Watch some porn, masturbate, drink some alcohol. I wouldn't roll a blunt, I didn't know how to. Have a pre-roll, maybe do a line, maybe pop some pills, maybe have some painkillers, some gambling to distract yourself, right? Doom scrolling on Instagram, social media, TikTok, Reddit. Anything that takes your mind off of suffering is the entry of this loop, right? So this signal that you're feeling, this stress, this inconvenience is the start of the loop. Then you delete the signal by being distracted. You're popping one off. You do that line. Whatever it is that gets your mind off of what is actually stressing you. Now, here's the thing. Stress is good. Relief is good. Whatever it is, that type of relief that you have to do. But it becomes an issue when you don't actually learn from the initial signal that's causing that suffering. When you don't dive down into it and understand why you're feeling this way. This becomes a habit. This becomes a problem. Because now you're in this loop. So you don't learn that why that original stress has been caused. You forget about it over the weekend. Monday comes around. Life happens again. It's all good. You wait till Friday. Wait till that stress happens again, and then you start all over again. That's the problem with the data deletion loop. That's loop number 2. Loop number 3 is called the avoidance and sensitivity loop. Now, this is a bit more relationship based with a significant other. So let's say there's an uncomfortable conversation you want to have, whether if it's with your kid, your friend, your wife, your coworker, whatever it is. This is a relationship based, and frankly, every single loop here is relationship based. I'll discuss that a little bit later down the road, but everything that you're doing is a relationship, whether if it's with yourself, with your environment, or with another person. It's all relationship based. So the avoidance sensitivity loop is where you avoid discomfort, okay? You avoid discomfort, and this is when you start to be a bit more on edge or defensive, so to speak, right? Because there's a sensitive topic that you do not want to discuss about, and every time that we're getting closer to that topic, or even just their general direction, your guard is up. I don't want to talk about it. This isn't something, I'll deal with it later. I got other things to think about. But a problem never goes. It only grows. All right? So when that sensitivity increases, that discomfort also increases, only for you to avoid it another time. And as time progresses and that discomfort increases, your sensitivity increases, your your tension, your negativity, your tolerance for that discomfort gets lower and lower and lower. It shrinks. So when your tolerance shrinks, it's just a matter of time until you blow up. Okay, I've had those moments quite often when it came around to the discomfort about money. When I kept gambling, I kept spending money, and I wasn't able to help around the house. Yeah, sure, I was able to pay for, my half of the rent, but when it came to groceries, when it came to doing extra, curricular activities, I was not able to actually pull my own weight. And every single time when I was asked, "Hey, babe, are you able to pitch this? Are you able to pitch that?" I didn't want to talk about it. I just got more and more ashamed, more and more avoidant on the situation, to the point where if something was going to be purchased, I would not be around. I would busy myself just to avoid it. But the problem just keeps growing and it doesn't get addressed. That's loop number 3. Loop number 4 is the healing loop. Now, this is similar to the program hopping, right? Which is not as detrimental to other relationships. It is a detrimental to yourself because you're not committing to something. But the healing loop is a bit more related to through healing trends that are always popping up and around. And you have an idea of, let's say the pain that you're feeling. You want to try the latest trend, whether if that was, icing or ice baths, whether if it's stretch therapy, whether it's fascia related or inflammation or postural. Again, most of these relief tools or these the tools, as I said before, relief is never an issue. The problem is when you don't address the cause of said stress, pain, suffering, and you only rely on the novelty or that feel good of your attempt at relieving said stress, pain, and suffering. So you try the hot trend, right? You get a bit comfortable with it, or rather you feel good, but there's a point in time where it becomes boring. It's not doing the job, or at some point in time you get a new flare up. And what do? You end up switching the stimulus to another trend. And then what happens then? You lose momentum and then you start back fresh again with another trend, not addressing the original problem. Now, the final loop is the identity collapse loop. This is the one that most of you, my brother, face, and I've faced as well. You've once seen yourself to being this powerful, dangerous, badass, cool, athletic, disciplined, sharp, driven individual. This was you. This was your peak. And then life happened. And this is where you say, you know what, that was the heydays. That was the good days, the good old days. I'm just, I'm old, I'm washed up, I've got pain, I've got debt, I've got heartbreak, I've got setbacks, and I was going to start that business and then things just didn't work out my way. This is when you start getting to the distractions, where you feel sorry for yourself. You cling on who you used to be, not believing that you could make some adjustments and changes to get back to your best, or even beyond that. And brother, let me tell you, you have the ability to. The beast in you doesn't die. It lays dormant, it gets bored, it lays down, it hibernates, the shit happens. But in this loop, you lose trust in yourself because so many negative setbacks have happened in your life. You stop acting like the man that you once were because of these proof that's stacking against you. And then with those proof, you start to think, damn, yeah, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm no longer him. I'm not that guy. And the more you say this to yourself and you start stacking the truths or the actions that are happening, the reason why you're not that guy. You tell yourself that your brain, you start feeling it in your bones, in your cells, in your joints, that you're not that guy anymore. And then you start saying it, and then you be it, and then you think it, and then that's that other loop now that sends you down a turmoil, a path of perpetual, I used to be that guy. Yeah. So those are the 5 loops that holds us back. As a man who knows that he can do so much more, these 5 loops are the main ones that you need to step out of your situation, assess what's going on, and identify it. Once you've identified it, now it becomes a choice. Before not knowing what you're doing, it's called a habit, right? But the minute you step out of it, now it becomes a choice. And that's something that you need to acknowledge and say it to yourself. You need to think it, you need to say it, and then you need to do it, where you start thinking to yourself like, damn, I keep doing this thing and it keeps putting me here and I'm hurting these people. But I'm not going to go into the answer right now. Okay, I wanted you to first understand naming that loop, understanding what it does to you. And then in the next video, I'll go into how we could actually exit the loop. But the first thing is always knowing where that door is, what it looks like, and then you got to put on your armor. And we'll talk about that later.